Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to Girls That Manifest. On this show, I will teach you how to manifest an expansive and extraordinary life beyond your wildest dreams. We will go deep on all things mindset, manifestation, law of assumption, spirituality, and metaphysics. I can't wait to bring you this content. So grab your matcha, mimosa, or macchiato and let's get into the show. One thing you should know about me is that I am queen of manifesting amazing places to live. It's a gift that I'm very proud of. And one day when I buy my house, which is hopefully very, very soon, I am literally manifesting that right now, I know that it will be my masterpiece in manifestation. Well, manifesting a house, I guess you could say. The benchmark for what I deem as a masterpiece is always moving. But until then, I want to share with you my absolute favorite home manifestation to date, and that is my $1.2 million Auckland City townhouse. So you may have read like years and years ago about the first property that I manifested, which was like a $2.1 million rental property with my ex-boyfriend and my best friend and a couple of other flatmates or roommates if you're from America. And that was an awesome, awesome manifestation. It was a collective one. We all did it together. But this one I manifested on my own, and I feel like it was way, way more potent, way more intentional, and way more fucking amazing because of the things that happened in order to manifest it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Here's how I did it. The first thing I did was I wrote a list of everything I wanted in a home. Because I'd traveled so much, I knew what I liked, and I knew what I needed, and what I wanted, and what wasn't necessary. So I wanted things like a brand new home or close to it. I didn't want an old home to deal with. If you lived in New Zealand, you know our old homes aren't that great. So I wanted something new, something quite healthy to live in. I wanted 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I didn't want a big home. I'm not a huge fan of big houses. I just wanted 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I wanted a modern build and modern furnishings. I wanted it to be fully furnished and ready to move into because I didn't have much furniture. In fact, I didn't have any furniture at that time. I'd been traveling for 3 years, so I didn't own anything. And I wanted it to feel like a real home, not just with, a couch and a TV, which is a lot of the rentals did. They had like really basic shit, and I didn't like the feel of them. And I know you know what I'm talking about. You walk into a place and you're like, oh my gosh, this feels so homely. It feels so lovely. And then you walk into other places and you're like, God, who got murdered here? This is awful. So I wanted it to feel like a real home. And I wanted it to be light and airy and spacious with views. And I didn't want any gardens to maintain. I'm not a garden person. I want to be, but I'm not one yet. I was not gifted with a green thumb, so yeah, no, I didn't want any gardens, especially having just come back from travels. Like I wasn't in the mental space to want to be gardening. And I wanted it to be close to shops and to the city, right? Which immediately implies that it's going to be expensive when you want it to be close to the city. And then of course I wanted a garage to park my car in. This is like a luxury in the city. I don't know why the fuck they are building all these new homes without garages. It's just weird. I don't like it. So yeah, I really wanted a garage to park my brand new car in. So when I got stuck on getting clear on what I wanted, I think about what I didn't want, which would easily remind me of what I did, right? It's like the old switcheroo, which figure out what you don't want and you'll figure out what you do. And then I decided what my budget would be and the date I wanted to move in, which was literally when I returned home from my upcoming trip over to the US, right? So I was armed with my specifications and I was ready to take the next step, which was step 2. I visualized myself living in the home, right? I placed myself in the end immediately. I didn't think about how to manifest it. I didn't think about in what ways to manifest it. I didn't think about the how. I just put myself in the end of living in the home. Now, I imagine what I would be doing, how I would feel, and who I would be. I would literally enjoy my home and my city life, and I'd create a meaningful luxury in my space by purchasing items that I loved and adored, and that made me live into the wealthy woman that I was becoming. right? I would show up in my business in a big way and hold greater space for impact and success. I would live and breathe my essence. I would literally be the wealthy woman and live accordingly. I imagined all this without knowing specifically what the home looked like, right? Because rental properties come and go all the time. So I didn't have a specific house that I was thinking of. I was just imagining how I would feel and who I would be in this home, knowing that I was in it, right? And I want to stress that because you don't necessarily always have to see specifically what it is. If you can feel yourself there, if you can slip into that knowing that you're already in it or can feel yourself in the home, that's enough. And once I locked in that vision, I condensed it down into a power-packed feeling and tapped it into it every single day. And at this time, I added it to my daily money practice so it was easy to stick to. And I talk about my daily money practice in episode 19. So go and check that out if you want to know what my daily money mindset practice is. Then step 3, I browsed listings with my specifications. So obviously if you want to find a place, more often than not, you're going to look for it. I had no problem taking that action because I wanted to. I wanted to see what was out there, right? And I've talked many times about how you don't need to lift a finger and how the action will come to you without thinking about it. And in this case, I wanted to look, right? Or you'll take action that you want to take, you actually want to. And in this case, I wanted to take action. I wanted to see what was available because it's fun looking at places, right? So I only looked or browsed for homes in the areas that I wanted to live in with the specifications I was after, okay? I didn't start looking at something different or more affordable or realistic. I just would not entertain any other idea of what I could or couldn't have or doubt whether I could actually get what I wanted for that price, right? So the listing for my townhouse came up and it was quite literally the best house out of all the ones I had seen. And it had everything I wanted and I absolutely loved it. But there was a problem. It was over my budget and I refused to change it. I was a little bit disappointed because I really wanted it and I was like, wow, that's the one I want. So this doesn't make any sense. But I decided to remain optimistic and that I was on the right path and something was right around the corner. Like the world was my oyster. I could manifest anything. So I left it on my watch list while I waited for new listings to come up. And around that time, like I shared earlier, I was flying to the USA to speak at Alt Summit. And then I was heading to Fiji for a few days after for some R&R because, you know, it's a big week conference and you're usually pretty exhausted after it. And I saw a listing for an apartment with amazing city views, literally just stunning city views. It wasn't quite what I wanted aesthetically. It was a bit small, but it had most of the specs that I wanted. So I applied to view it because, you know, I was still learning how to trust. And I received a response with the viewing time, but it was literally an hour before my flight. And I knew I wasn't going to make that. You know, if I tried to chance it, I was so going to miss my flight. And I was quite bummed. But again, I picked myself up and I said, you know what? It's on its way. I don't have to think about it right now. I'm heading out. I'm flying out tomorrow. So let's worry about this when I get back. Something better is coming. And off overseas I went. So my talk at the conference was a massive hit. It was on Pinterest when I was still doing Pinterest marketing for business. And after a crazy week of classes and workshops, I was like ready to drink cocktails by the pool and read and do nothing else in Fiji for a few days, which is exactly what I did. But a few days into my Fiji vacay, I checked my email to see that there was a notification that the price of the townhouse that I had been interested in initially had been lowered to, you guessed it, my exact budget. So then and there, I applied to view the place. And I picked the specific time that I wanted to view it, which was an hour after I touched down in Auckland from my flight, because I would be driving back to my hometown, which was 3 hours away. And I didn't want to be waiting around or driving back up again. And the property manager got back to me within 5 minutes and scheduled in that exact time, which is like unheard of. Like usually you have to go at the specific viewing times that they choose, but nope. They were like, yep, we'll meet you at that exact time. So that moves us on to step 4. I overcame the obstacles. So after I got off the flight, I got to my car and then I drove over to the place and I stepped one foot in the house and I knew it was mine. You know that feeling when you walk in, you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is my home. And there wasn't a single shred of doubt about it. I literally blurted it out in front of the property manager when I got into the kitchen. And I asked to apply for the place then and there. But there were a couple of things I was a little worried about. A couple of obstacles that were potentially in the way. I hadn't rented a property in over 3 years. So my only history was Airbnb stays scattered all over the world. And in a spur of inspiration, I decided to screenshot all of my reviews on Airbnb and paste them into a Canva document, since I'm, an ebook pro on there. And I created a nice design around it so it looked fancy. And I figured maybe it will help to show my credibility because I didn't have any history for the last 3 years. B, I was worried they would find a business owner to be too much of a risk, right? Because I don't have a secure income. It's just basically whatever I get paid. And I hadn't rented in such a long time. I thought I would look like a big risk. And then C, the property manager told me that someone else had already applied before me. But she encouraged me to apply anyway because at the end of the day, the owner would choose who she wanted in her house. Okay? Well, guess what? Turns out the company that was the property manager. Okay, what? Well, turns out that the company that the property manager I met worked for was the same company that I was renting from before I started traveling all those years ago. So they actually had my rental history from that first home that I manifested with my ex and best friend. And then when they asked me about my earnings, I showed them my bank statements. I literally just downloaded the PDF of them and sent them in. And they were more than happy with that. And then the other applicant, well, we know who the owner chose. And the rest is history. And then moving on to step 5, the final step, is that I let myself be accommodated. The reason I love this manifestation so much is because I was literally accommodated in every single way that I wanted and needed, right? I had created new assumptions and created the self-concept where I got everything that I wanted. Not a little bit, not some, all of it. I found the house with everything I desired. The price was lowered to my exact budget because I wouldn't budge. I applied to view at the exact time and date I asked for because I wouldn't go and see it any other time. And it was before I drove back to my hometown. The property management company already had my rental history. All I had to do was show my bank statements for reference. And I was chosen over the other applicant who applied first because I decided it was always mine to begin with. And everything I imagined I would do, feel, and be and have in that home, it all happened. The house literally transported me into the wealthy woman that I was becoming and became in that house. So anytime someone tells you that spending more money on a home or on an experience or on an environment is frivolous, remember, they don't get it. They settle and they accept what they can get, not what they want. You are different. You are a rare breed, and you will not settle for less than what you desire. Because when you move yourself into expansive environments, you yourself expand into greatness, into better versions of yourself, into self-concepts you didn't even know you wanted yet. So let this be a lesson that you can accommodate every single need that you want. You can have every single thing that you want when manifesting a home and anything else. Every single one of your wants and desires will be met. There is not this or something better, right? That's a self-concept if you want to have it, but you can also decide that this is it. This is what I want. And I am not budging on any of it. I am only getting this exactly as I want. If you choose to be open to differences or better, go for it. But if I were you, I'd trust myself and know that I know what I want and I know what it looks like and that I am the creator and I'm the one who makes this happen. You don't have to be molding yourself to fit the desire or bartering for what you need or accommodating others instead of the other way around. Set your standards and do not budge. What you desire is meant for you in its entirety because you decide how the fuck your reality goes, okay? And decide you get to have it all exactly as you want. Please don't forget that. So to recap, number 1, I wrote a list of every single thing I wanted in a home, and I was non-negotiable about it. Number 2, I visualized myself in that home in every single way possible. Day-to-day things, all the expansive things I would be doing, how I would be creating this home. I visualized all of it. Number 3, I browsed listings for my specific specifications that I wanted in a home. I was non-negotiable about what I wanted. I would not budge. Number 4, I overcame the obstacles, right? I focused on being in the end, living in the end, and the obstacles were naturally overcome because of that, right? Things just worked out, fell into place. I didn't really have to do a whole lot in order to overcome those obstacles. But the key thing that overrode those obstacles was living in the end. And then, of course, number 5, I let myself be accommodated. I let everything unfold exactly in the way that I wanted it to unfold into, right? Exactly the way that I wanted the outcome to be. I let myself be accommodated for every single want and need. Okay? So, in saying that, I have gone ahead and created an amazing little resource for you. It is called the Manifest Your Dream Home Workbook, and it is an actual workbook that breaks down everything you need to do to manifest your dream home. So, if you would like to do that, what you can do is head to the link elismcdowell.com/the-vault, or you can just go down to the show notes below and click the link and sign up that way. It is loaded on there for you to download so that you, if you want to manifest your dream home, can do that today. And my love, that is how I manifested my $1.2 million townhouse. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, come over to the Girls That Manifest Facebook group and let's talk about this. What are you manifesting? Are you manifesting a home? What are your specs? What do you want? What are you not budging on? Come and tell me. And then leave a review for the show if you loved it, because we need to get this podcast and show out to as many people in as many ears as possible. Okay, I love you very much. I'll see you in next week's episode.